Hey guys, this is my personal boat. I know I did a really long documentary, but nobody really has an hour to go through all of it. So this is the boat in 10 minutes. I'm going to link the extended version up here and in the comments section just in case you want to see the whole documentary fully explained. We also have a full masterclass based on this boat because of all of its advantages. And I'm going to just explain here in 10 minutes what we all did. We started by gutting the boat completely. Then we installed one of our aluminum transoms. It's made so it can be installed with basic tools and hardware just like a wood transom. But post-installation, I made and welded on my own custom end caps and side caps because I have big plans that won't unfold until later. This will be an all aluminum build, which includes all aluminum dry hatches that were made custom from our Midwest shop in Illinois. And this is a rear-facing hatch, which is why it's only 3-sided. Because there's a lot of posers and naysayers on YouTube pretending to know it all, I purposely riveted one part of this boat and then welded the other part of the boat. If anything, just to show you how full of crap a lot of these pretenders are. This boat came from the 1980s, and like many in its era, they were all riveted in the inside and only welded in spots around the hull where it was like mandatory, and loosely riveted at that. But somehow this boat lasted like 40 years on the planet, and a lot of them before this have lasted even longer, 50, 60 years, and no rivets popped. So we just go a little bit more into carrying on the quality assurance and put a copious amount of rivets in conjunction with the welding. We can then pull off my chief strategy for an unsinkable floating core, essentially separating the interior from the exterior of the hull completely. The entire core will also be encased mostly in foam. That means all of our compartments will have to have liners that are sealed, with drain tubes going through the foam and somehow bleeding down into the bottom of the hull where water can primarily flow with ease, never again damaging the hull or damaging the foam or causing corrosions, which are all the frequent problems that these boats had. In fact, if those weren't problems with these boats, they would probably last forever. All these hatches have an 1.5 inch flange, and a lot of this is 1.5 inch angular tubing, so they kind of butt right up together between the hull size and the overhanging flange of each hatch, making a complete deck, only needing to be finished later with deck sheets, which we'll get to. But right now we're going to go ahead and install this Flow-Rite live well system. This is a version 3 live well system, the most popular in bass boats, and since this is essentially a bass boat with extra steps, we're going to go ahead and install an equivalent live well in there. It gets really tight in the back, so you gotta kind of watch it. I don't have much space back there, but somehow we're going to pull off all the plumbing and somehow get a 6-gallon gas tank in there too. Also the bilge pumps. You need 2 of them. Powerful ones. Make it all run out the side where you can actually see it flow. Don't be afraid to seal off all the original flow ports with drain stoppers and adding new ones. This strategy is heavily contingent on drain tubes like this and also conduits and other additional forms of piping, because this whole chasm right here that you see in this void will be filled with foam and there will be no voids. If you're trying to do an advanced unstoppable build of high quality, then voids will always be your enemy. But adding a bunch of poor foam for flotation without any strategy would also be a really bad move, because it will not be serviceable later at all, and you won't be able to run or service wires. And when you finally realize what a big mistake that is, it will be too late. So, pre-planning. Essentially, you'll be running all your major wires and making sure they have places to go, and possibly just getting them through there before you even start to do anything major. Most of the wiring was kind of pre-ran through all this before we even got to install the deck or the hatches or pour the foam. When it comes to rod lockers, I like rod tubes. If you made just a hollow void rod locker, yeah, you can store more rods, but it gets a little disorganized. And also an advantage with rod tubes, you can pour foam around them. Otherwise, it's just a big void there. It's not going to fit really well with our whole unsinkable strategy here. This entire boat will have EVA foam on it. It's superior to carpet in almost every way. There's almost no reason to use it now. This boat will also have an obscene amount of electronics that I've been hoarding for a long time, wanting to do this strategy of the triple stack. We used our custom heavy-duty graft mount from JDS Outdoors Midwest to pull it off. And with that, we're on to cleaning and really prepping the last little bit. This hull was already painted, but I figured a second coat for touch-up wouldn't hurt it. But the thing that will make this boat difficult to wire is not the sheer amount of conduits that we had to run for it all. It's just the sheer amount of wire in general. A lot. We're also going to have to make our own custom switch panel that just holds everything, and it's going to be sticking out the side of the boat, right in the cockpit. I found that to be the most advantageous place for it because it sits high, it can avoid if water starts filling into the boat, and it's just kind of there for convenience and you can see it and see everything that's going on. We are wiring this boat with one of our TV Nation electrical kits. This is like the Supreme kit that will wire everything. It comes with more or less everything that I'll ever need, and I won't have to source all these things individually, which would give me a bunch of excess and cost me more money. So these kits, I'm so glad we came out with them. I really don't want to drag you on with how this was. I made an original hour-long video for this boat, and I also have an extended class about this in our master class for the advanced builders. And definitely go check those out. Otherwise, you know, I just don't want to bore you to death. So we're just going to breeze through this and show you what we did, and then we'll explain it later. Now to finally make good on our design. With an unsinkable floating core, it has to be unsinkable, which means you have to match what your boat's ideally going to weigh with the equivalent amount of foam and flotation. The best foam to use is AB Pour foam. A 2-pound density. It's pretty unstoppable. It'll make this boat float through the waves like a dream, feel like it's a much bigger boat than it is, and it will be next to impossible to sink because there's simply not enough voids in the boat that water can overtake, ever. Now we can start templating for the front deck. We use Graphics Duralar, a clear plastic film, which we're going to then trace on our deck sheets. If you get a sheet metal pack, they'll come just like this, and because you have a bunch of joints in framing and cross members, then these overlap quite perfectly. With these kits, we send you a very generous amount of countersink rivets, and it should be able to attach anything and everything with all of that. Once you have that all lined up, if you butted them up like that, you might have an overhanging gap. You can fill that in with silicone, or in my opinion, the best thing to fill that in is with epoxy. Once the lids and the deck sheets are all installed and it's all prepped and clean, now we can go ahead and install the HydroTurf. I could have got any decking I wanted. I could have got one of those custom deck sheets and made it look all pretty for YouTube, but really, utilitarian function has always been the premise. So that's why HydroTurf is here. It's next to unstoppable. Specifically the cut groove camo of any color. It is extremely durable. It is the best decking I personally ever had. Heat dissipation, grip, aesthetics, all of it. You can now start to load it up. I made a bunch of custom tackle tray stuff, and those vertical day boxes on the side that I'm sticking tackle in, those are just phenomenal to put in compartments and also in the cockpit. They give you tons more organizational advantage than just hatches alone. I had only one more thing to fabricate, and that was these custom micro anchor mounts that I made to fit right on that Atlas microjacker. And with that, this boat is finally ready to go on the water. If there's anything I've learned over all this time, just dealing with these boats in general, is that you can really put a whole lot of lipstick on a pig. You can just put the fanciest looking custom deck turf on there, a nice wrap, put LEDs everywhere, some speakers, and you can just make that thing look completely awesome. And the whole time nobody knows what a piece of crap it is because nobody saw how you built it, and it's impossible to tell until it's too late. I'm obsessed with the internal design of the boat and how it performs. This may not be the prettiest boat, but I swear to you, if you get on it, it will change every belief you've ever had on how a riveted hull this size could perform. Truth be told, if I was going to go and try and get a boat custom built like this, I for one would have a really hard time finding somebody to do it, and I would be scared of what it would cost. I saved so much money, paid literally pennies on the dollar, building this boat DIY. Everybody kind of wonders why I'm not bigger or why I haven't picked up some major sponsorship brand. It's because countercultures don't actually get picked up. It's the same reason that major universities won't pick up these successful 17-year-old genius entrepreneurs who are already millionaires. It makes those institutions tremendously less valuable when people find out they don't actually need them to be successful or to even attain a goal. All boat companies and fabricators might have their thoughts about me, but honestly, who freaking cares? The truth is, you can build one of these boats yourself, likely better than what they do. They're going to be pushed through on a timeline by workers who, depending on their wage, may or may not care. Some of the smaller independent boat builders might do a better job, but it's ultimately a risk either way. If you take this on yourself or with your own team, then you can guarantee and you know exactly what you're going to get. But that's not even the best part of this journey. The most important part is the skills learned through the sheer determination of learning something new. Obtaining new skills on the way that will make you provide more value to not only the world, but to yourself. If you obtain value like this, then everybody else who holds their value over your head will have no leverage. And the worrisome goal of whether or not you're going to be able to afford a fishing boat like this just becomes nothing. When you have the ability to produce something far superior for a fraction of the price, the universe doesn't allow them to beat you. They end up rendering themselves obsolete, and you become something completely different, someone who's finally joined the age of DIY. and all the potential that it can unlock. Not just boats, anything, campers, trailers, cars, houses, side-by-sides, whatever you fancy. With the sheer amount of knowledge provided through independent media today, why would you not want to do something cool? I'm getting older, starting to get a little weathered from all this, so I don't know how many complex builds I had in me, so I definitely wanted to make sure that one of them that I had left was this boat, that I would be able to push my vision forth, and I really wasn't able to do it until it was just mine and mine completely. Thank you guys so much for sticking around, helping me build this channel and build my company, helped me form the ultimate team that I really needed. Because of you guys, I was able to self-fund this project free of any interference from anybody else. I didn't have to put up with anybody else's nonsense or timelines or fidgeting around with money and cost for the actual project. I was just able to take my time and finish it, and then now here it is. Check us out, tbnation.net. Also check out our masterclasses by clicking on our name. And if you want more than that, check us out on patreon.com/tbnation. Thank you.